La Russie
The Russian
convoque une nouvelle
Federation
fois une réunion
is
sur
once
Nord
again
Stream
calling
alors que
a
rien ne le
meeting
justifie,
on Nord Stream,
si ce n'est
although there
la
are no
volonté de
grounds for
détourner
doing
l'attention de ce
so, aside
Conseil
from
ainsi
Russia's
que de la
desire to
communauté
divert the attention
internationale.
and the resources of the
La
Security
justice
Council
allemande
and
poursuit son enquête
the
sur
international
les
community to this
explosions
end.
survenues sur les gazoducs
The German
Nord Stream 1
judiciary is
et 2
continuing
en
its
septembre
investigation
2022.
into the explosions
Nous
that
demeurons
occurred
convaincus que la
on
meilleure
the
manière
Nord
de
Stream
faire
1 and
toute
2
la lumière
pipelines
sur ces
in
faits
September
est de
2022.
laisser
We
cette
stand
enquête
convinced that
être
the best
conduite
way to
à
shed
son
light on
terme,
what
sans
happened is for
interférence,
this
sans
investigation
volonté
to come to a
d'instrumentalisation
conclusion
et sans
without
préjuger de
any
son
interference,
résultat.
without it being instrumentalized,
Par la
and without
multiplication
prejudging its outcome.
d'initiatives sur ce
By multiplying
dossier au
initiatives
Conseil de
on this
sécurité, la
Security
Russie
Council
cherche à
dossier,
instiller le doute
Russia is trying
sur
to
le sérieux
inject
des enquêtes
doubt
nationales
into
conclues
the
ou en cours
seriousness of
et à faire
national
pression sur les
investigations,
enquêteurs
both
allemands.
completed and
Cela est
underway, and
inacceptable.
to exert pressure
Nous
on
rappelons
German
une nouvelle
investigators.
fois
It's
à la Russie
unacceptable.
que les
Let us
autorités
recall once
judiciaires
again that
allemandes,
to the Russian
suédoises
Federation
et
that
danoises
the
sont
German,
indépendantes.
Swedish and
Les enquêtes
Danish
qu'elles conduisent sont
judicial
conformes aux
authorities are
principes
independent.
fondamentaux de l'état de droit.
The investigations they're
Après
undertaking
avoir conduit
are
des
in
enquêtes
accordance with the
approfondies et
fundamental principles
complexes,
of the rule of
incluant
law.
un
Having
examen complet
conducted
du site des
in-depth complex
explosions,
investigations,
les procureurs
including
suédois et
a
danois
comprehensive
ont
assessment
décidé
of
de
the
clore
site where the
leurs enquêtes
explosions
respectives
occurred,
en février
Swedish and
dernier,
Danish
au motif
prosecutors
qu'il n'y avait
decided
pas
to
de
close
juridiction.
their investigations
On ne
in
peut
February of
reprocher aux
this year
enquêteurs leur
on the
manque de
rationale that they
transparence.
don't have
La
jurisdiction.
Suède, le Danemark et
We
l'Allemagne
cannot
ont tenu informer
criticize them for any lack of
ce
transparency.
Conseil par les lettres du
Sweden,
29
Denmark, and
septembre
Germany
2022,
kept the Security
21
Council abreast of
février et
developments,
10
sending
juillet
letters on the 29th of
2023,
September
et 9
2022, 21st February,
26
and 10th July
février et 9
2023,
septembre
and the 9th
2024.
of
Dans ce
February, 26th
contexte,
of February, and
la
9th of
France
September
déplore que la Russie ne tienne
2024.
aucun compte des
Against this backdrop,
préoccupations
France
convergentes
deplores the fact
exprimées
that the Russian
par un nombre
Federation
important
is
de membres
not
du
taking into
Conseil dans les
account the
discussions en
convergent
cours sur son
concerns
projet de
expressed by a large
déclaration
number of Security Council
présidentielle.
members in
Il est
discussions
particulièrement
underway
regrettable
on
qu'elle insiste sur la
the presidential
qualification d'acte
statement.
de
It is
terrorisme à
particularly
l'explosif.
regrettable that
La
Russia is
nature de la
insisting on
qualification
characterizing this
utilisée
as a terrorist act
nécessite
using
la
explosives.
présence de certains
Such
faits
a
qui n'ont pas
claim,
été
such a
établis.
characterization
Cette
requires that
attitude
certain
démontre
facts
que la
be
Russie
established. They
préjuge du
haven't been.
résultat de
This
l'enquête.
attitude shows that the Russian
On est en
Federation
droit
is
de s'étonner
prejudging
du
the
zèle
investigation's
que
outcome.
déploie la Russie sur ce
We're within our
dossier et de
right
la
to
vive
be
préoccupation qu'elle
stunned at
entretient
the zeal
quant
Russia
aux
has shown on this
atteintes
dossier
portées aux
and Russia's grave
infrastructures énergétiques.
concern
Je rappelle que
regarding
pendant ce temps, elle
this
continue
attack
ses attaques
against energy
systématiques et
infrastructure. I'd like
délibérées
to
contre
recall
les
that at the same
infrastructures
time, Russia is
civiles
continuing its
ukrainiennes,
systematic and
leur
deliberate attacks
infligeant de
against
terribles
Ukrainian
dommages.
civilian
Le
infrastructure,
système
inflicting
énergétique ukrainien
untold
a
damage.
été détruit
The Ukrainian
ou
energy
endommagé
system
à plus des
has
2/3
been
par
destroyed,
l'augmentation des
or
frappes
over
russes en
2/3
mars
of
et
it has
août
sustained
dernier,
damage
provoquant
by
une
Russia,
instabilité
which has stepped
durable
up
dans
its
l'approvisionnement
strikes in
énergétique
March
de la
and August
population
of this year,
ukrainienne. Je vous
resulting
remercie.
in ongoing instability in energy
Je
supply to the
remercie
Ukrainian
le
people.
représentant
Thank
de la
you.
France de
I
sa
thank the representative
déclaration
of
et je
France
donne
for
maintenant la
their
parole au
statement. I
représentant
give the
de
floor to the
l'Équateur.
representative of Ecuador.
Gracias, Presidenta. En varias oportunidades, mi delegación ha rechazado los actos
On
de
various
sabotaje y
occasions, my delegation
explosiones
has
provocadas en
repudiated
los
the acts
gasoductos
of
submarinos de
sabotage
Nord Stream
and the
1 y 2
explosions
en el Mar
caused to
Báltico.
underwater gas pipelines Nord
Reitero
Stream
esta
1 and
condena,
2 in the
pues
Baltic.
todo acto en
We
contra de
reiterate this
infraestructuras
repudiation
civiles
because every
esenciales
attack
que
against
queden en la
essential civilian
impunidad
infrastructure, which
debilita
remains
el derecho
unpunished,
internacional
weakens
y la
international
rendición de
law
cuentas.
and accountability.
Este incidente
This
representó
incident
una amenaza
represents
para
a
la paz y
threat
la
to
seguridad
international
internacional,
peace and security.
comprometió
It's
la
compromised
navegación marítima
shipping
en el Mar
in the
Báltico
Baltic Sea,
y tuvo
and it
graves
had serious
consecuencias
environmental
medioambientales
and
y
economic
económicas. El
consequences.
Ecuador seguirá
Ecuador
guiándose
will
por
continue to
información
be
oficial
guided by
y
the
coincide con
official
quienes
information,
advierten
and
los
we agree
peligros de
with those
acciones y
who warn
propuestas en
against
lugar de
the
conducir
dangers of
al
actions and
esclarecimiento de
proposals
los
which,
hechos,
rather than
lo
helping to clear
obstaculiza.
up
La
events,
investigación
actually
de
makes them more
Alemania,
difficult to
aún
clarify.
abierta,
The
debe
investigation
llegar a
of
una
Germany is
pronta
still ongoing, and it
conclusión,
should
y en tanto
soon
ello
arrive at a
ocurre,
conclusion.
este Consejo
When that
debe
occurs,
continuar
this Council
recibiendo
should continue to
información
receive
sustancial.
substantial
Empero,
information.
por su
However,
gravedad,
given its seriousness,
repercusiones
its
y el tiempo
repercussions, and the
transcurrido
time that
desde el
has elapsed
sabotaje a los
since the
gasoductos en el
sabotage
Mar
of the gas
Báltico,
pipelines
no
in the
puede
Baltic Sea,
descartarse
no
cualquier
options
opción
should be
que
ruled out
contribuya
if
al
they could contribute
esclarecimiento de la
to
verdad
getting to the
con la
truth with the
cooperación de
cooperation
todas las
of all
partes
interested
interesadas.
parties.
Gracias.
Thank you very much.
Je remercie le représentant de
I thank the
l'Équateur de sa
representative of
déclaration
Ecuador
et je
for
donne
their
maintenant la
statement. I now
parole
give the
au
floor to the
représentant des
representative
États-Unis.
of the United States.
Thank you, Madam President. There are many urgent matters before this Council. This topic is not one of them. Germany is investigating the destruction of the Nord Stream pipelines, which appears to be an intentional act of sabotage. The United States has condemned their destruction and is fully confident in Germany's ongoing judicial process. The Security Council should not preempt the German authorities by drawing sweeping conclusions based on political statements. It is difficult not to miss Russia's hypocrisy in calling this meeting. Russia repeatedly demands the Council's attention on the destruction of its pipeline, while it systematically decimates Ukraine's energy and water infrastructure, setting up a disastrous winter for millions of Ukrainians. That is the real issue of urgency for the Security Council. Colleagues, I also want to address Russia's strategy of disinformation, which it uses to change narratives. Last week, in the General Assembly, Russia's foreign minister accused the United States of the September 2022 Nord Stream pipeline destruction, something Russia's representative implied again today. There is no shred of evidence of U.S. involvement, and there never will be, because the United States was not involved. For a moment today, Russia's disinformation diverts the Council's attention from the gruesome war and destruction it has unleashed on Ukraine. But we see it, and we condemn it. Thank you.
Je remercie
I
le
thank the
représentant des
representative of the
États-Unis
United
de sa
States for their
déclaration et je
statement. I
donne
now
la
give the
parole
floor to
au
the
représentant
representative
du Mozambique.
of Mozambique.
Madam President, I wish to start by thanking the Presidency for convening this meeting. 2 years have passed since the September 2022 explosions that severely damaged the Nord Stream 1 and 2 gas pipelines in the Baltic Sea. This incident has not only disrupted energy supplies, but also intensified political tensions across Europe. Despite the Council's repeated engagement on this matter, progress, much like the investigation themselves, remains largely stalled. The manner in which the various national jurisdictions involved have handled this serious issue, coupled with the reported lack of coordination and information sharing, raises serious concerns about whether the truth will ever be fully uncovered. Madam President, we acknowledge that the highly technical and covert nature of the attack presents a significant challenge for forensic experts in gathering conclusive evidence, thereby complicating the investigation process. However, as time progresses, without a definitive attribution of responsibility or a clear identification of the perpetrators, competing narratives and accusations have emerged from various stakeholders. There is an international speculation that the investigation is being deliberately protracted due to the potential diplomatic repercussions and the risk of escalation should the perpetrators' identities be revealed. As a result, the public remains uninformed of key findings and progress appears minimal. Impunity, however, cannot be an option for such flagrant violation of international law. Madam President, the protection of civilian infrastructure is not a mere aspiration, but a fundamental pillar of international humanitarian law that must be scrupulously observed and upheld by all. We therefore reiterate that all civilian infrastructures must be safeguarded in accordance with the applicable international legal frameworks, including Security Council Resolution 2341. This applies to all parties involved without distinction. In the best interest of all concerned parties and the international community at large, Mozambique asserts that this issue must be transparently and conclusively investigated. The international community cannot afford to leave the Nord Stream attack unresolved, particularly in an already volatile geopolitical landscape, especially given the ongoing conflicts and humanitarian crises in regions like Middle East, Ukraine, and Africa. It is therefore imperative for the international community, including the Security Council, to continue advocating for a thorough and transparent investigation to ensure accountability and prevent similar incidents in the future. To this end, prioritizing cooperation and the exchange of relevant information among the concerned parties is of utmost priority and importance. I thank you, Madam President.
Je remercie le représentant du
I thank the
Mozambique de
representative
sa
of
déclaration
Mozambique for
et
their
je donne
statement. I
maintenant
now
la
give the
parole
floor
au
to the
représentant de la
representative
Sierra Leone.
of Sierra Leone.
Madam President, it has now been 2 years since the, I quote, powerful explosions due to sabotage, end of quote, caused damage to the Nord Stream pipelines, as noted in the 21st February 2023 letter to the Council, Denmark, Germany, and Sweden. The facts established by investigations were further supported by reports of the Swedish authorities of 18 November 2022 that foreign items containing explosive residue were found near the site. Sierra Leone remains hopeful that for trust in a multilateral system to be maintained or regained, an acceptable resolution will be reached in a timely manner. In previous Security Council meetings, Sierra Leone unequivocally condemned the unjustifiable act of destruction of civilian infrastructure, which violates international law. Today, we reiterate that condemnation and continue to call for the protection of civilians and civilian infrastructure everywhere. Despite the passage of time, a clear, independent, and verifiable conclusion from the investigations into this incident has yet to be established. We note that investigations conducted by Denmark and Sweden confirm deliberate sabotage, but with insufficient grounds to pursue a criminal case. We further note that Germany's investigation remains ongoing. Madam President, our responsibility to maintain global peace and security includes the protection of lives, property, and human dignity worldwide. The destruction of critical interstate economic infrastructure, alongside environmental damage and marine life loss resulting from the Nord Stream incident, demands serious attention, not least to safeguard respect for the rule of law and accountability, which are essential for international peace and security. In this regard, we emphasize the need for a fact-based, credible, inclusive, and transparent investigation that yields an impartial outcome. Such clarity is crucial for ensuring accountability. We urge the Security Council to support the timely conclusion of the German authorities' investigation to establish facts and dispel any contentious allegations. Our multilateral system is under immense strain due to ongoing conflicts and emerging geopolitical and economic interests and tensions. From its inception, the Nord Stream pipeline has had significant geopolitical and economic ramifications with strongly held views by the relevant stakeholders. Our persistent call for a timely conclusion to the investigation seeks to prevent any escalation of tensions due to prolonged perceived inaction on this issue. In closing, Madam President, Sierra Leone reaffirms its commitment to the principles of the protection of civilian infrastructure and accountability to end impunity. We therefore call for the conclusion of national investigation and, as appropriate, a fact-based, credible, inclusive, and transparent international investigation to ensure the principles we rely upon in our multilateral system based on international law are upheld. And thank you.
Je remercie le
I
représentant
thank
de
the
la Sierra Leone de
representative
sa
of Sierra
déclaration et
Leone
je
for their
donne
statement. I now
parole
give
au
the floor to the
représentant de la Chine.
representative of China.
主席，
President,
2年前
2
北极
years
管道
ago,
发
the
生爆
Nord
炸，
Stream
震
pipelines
惊世界。
exploded, which shocked the world.
这一针对跨国能源
The
基础设施的
sabotage
破坏，
targeting
给全球
transnational
能
energy
源供
infrastructure
应、
has serious
海
negative
洋生态
impact
环境
on global
和海
energy
上航运
supplies,
安全，
marine
造
ecosystems,
成
and
严
the
重负面
safety
影响。
of maritime shipping.
2年来，
Over
国
the
际社
past
会一
2
直
years,
高
the
度关
international
注
community has
事
been
件调
following
查
with
进
great
展。
interest the progress of the
安理会
investigation
多
into
次
the
进行审
incident.
议，
The Council has
包括
conducted
中国在
numerous
内的许多安理会
deliberations
成员
during
一再
which
呼吁
many council members, including
要开展
China,
客
have
观
repeatedly
公正
called for
专业的
objective,
调查
impartial, and professional
尽早查
investigation
明真相
to establish
向
facts
肇
as
事
soon
者
as
绳之
possible
以法
and bring the
以
perpetrators
防此
to
类事件
justice so as to
再次
prevent
发生
such incidents from
令
recurring.
人遗憾的是，
Regrettably,
我们至
we
今
have not
仍
yet
然没有得
reached
到一个
a definitive
明确的结论。
conclusion.
安理会曾经
The
围绕
Council
对
has
该
had
事件进行
several
国际调
discussions
查，
on whether
还
to
是开展国别调
conduct
查
an，international or
进行
national
了多番讨
investigation.
论。当时一些成
At that
员
time,
反
some
对进行
members
国际调查，
opposed the former
极力主张给
and
瑞
argued
典、
strongly in
丹麦、
favor of giving
德
Sweden,
国
Denmark,
以
and
信
Germany
任
the trust
和
and
时间
time
让三国自
to
行开
conduct
展国别
their
调查。
own national investigations.
然而，
However,
2年后的
today,
今天，
2
我们
years
得到的
later,
结果
the
就
result
是
is
瑞典、
that
丹
Sweden
麦
and
陆
Denmark
续宣布
have
终
announced
止
the
国别调
termination
查。
of their
但
investigations
公布
one
的
after
信
another.
息
Yet,
空洞
the
无误，
information they
语言不
released
详。
is scant and lacking
德国
details.
开展的国别
The
调查
national
至
investigation of
今没
Germany
有明
has
确
so
结论。
far been
公众只能根据
inconclusive,
媒体
and the
爆料
public
获
can
取
only
信息，
obtain information
进行
and
猜测。
speculate based on media reports.
我相信很多
I
人跟
believe
我
that
有
many
同样的
people
问
have
题
the：same questions as I do.
当初反
Was
对
there
国际
a
调查
hidden
是
agenda
否另有
to the
隐情？
initial opposition to an
2年
international
多来，证据是否
investigation?
已被掩盖
Has
和
evidence
销
been
毁？
covered up and destroyed over the
我
past
们
2
付出
years
的
or
信任
so?
和时间，
When will
何
the
时才
trust
能
and
换来
time we have
事件的
given
真相
be？ rewarded with the truth about what happened?
主席，
President,
中方支持俄罗
China
斯此
supports
前
the
散发
draft
的关于
presidential
北溪管
statement
道爆炸事
circulated
件的
by
安理
Russia
会
on the
主
Nord
席声明
Stream
草案，
pipeline explosions
欢迎俄罗斯
and
根据安
welcomes
理
the
会成员的
changes
意
and
见
adjustments
对
Russia
草案
made
做
to the
出修改
draft in
和
light
调
with
整。
the comments of council
我们
members.
认为当
We
前的草
believe
案
that the current draft,
客观陈述事实，
presenting facts
反
objectively,
映各方关切，
reflects the concerns of
内
all
容总
parties.
体平衡。
It is generally balanced in its
希望各方
content.
能够加
We
紧
hope
磋
that
商，
all parties
尽
will
快就草
intensify
案达成一
consultations
致，
and reach agreement on the draft
对外
as soon
发
as
出
possible,
明
so
确
as
的
to
信号
send a clear signal to the outside world.
最后，
In
我
conclusion,
愿就北溪
I would
管道
like
爆
to
炸事
make
件
3
提出3
points
点希
regarding
望。
the Nord Stream pipeline explosions.
第一，
First,
我们希望
we
德
hope
国
that
尽
Germany
快通过
will
官方
announce
渠
the
道
progress
公
and
布调
results
查
of the
进展
investigation
及结
through
果。
official channels as soon as possible.
第二，
Second,
我们希望有
we
关国
hope
家
that
积
the
极同
countries
俄罗斯
concerned will
这一
actively
北溪管道
communicate
爆炸事
and
件的主
cooperate
要
with
当事
Russia,
方，
the main party
沟
to
通
the Nord
合
Stream
作，
incident,
避免
and
将
avoid
调查政治化。
politicizing the investigations.
第三，
Third,
我们希望
we
安理
hope
会对
that
此
the
事保
Council
持
will
关
keep
注，
its attention on this matter,
避免
refrain
虎头蛇
from
尾
allowing
杜
it
绝
to
双
fade
重标准。
away, and put an end to double standards.
谢谢主席。
Thank you, President.
Je remercie le
I thank
représentant
the
de la Chine de sa
representative of China
déclaration.
for their statement.
Je vais maintenant faire une
I
déclaration
will
en ma
now
qualité de
make a statement
représentante
in
de la
my
Suisse.
capacity as the representative of Switzerland.
L'appréciation de la situation par la Suisse
The
reste inchangée.
assessment by
Je
Switzerland
réitère
of the
notre
situation remains
préoccupation face aux
unchanged. I
explosions des
repeat
gazoducs Nord
our
Stream
concern
1
with
et
regard to the
2
explosions
qui
of
ont
Nord Stream
conduit
1
à
and
des
2
fuites de
gas
gaz en
pipelines which
septembre
led to gas leaks in
2022.
September
La Suisse
2022.
condamne tout acte de
Switzerland
sabotage
condemns
ou de
all
destruction
acts of
intentionnelle
intentional
d'infrastructures
sabotage or
critiques,
destruction
y compris
of critical
énergétiques.
infrastructure,
De tels actes
including
peuvent
energy
avoir un impact
infrastructure.
négatif sur
These acts can have a
l'approvisionnement de la
negative impact
population,
on the supply of the
l'économie et
population and on
l'environnement.
the economy and the
En ce qui
environment.
concerne les enquêtes
With
menées
regard
par
to
les
the
autorités
investigations
nationales,
being
nous
led by
saluons les
national
informations
authorities,
que le
we welcome the
Danemark,
information that
l'Allemagne
Denmark,
et la
Germany
Suède
and
ont
Sweden
fourni sous
have
forme de
provided
lettres
in
au
the form
Conseil
of
à
letters to
plusieurs
the
reprises.
Council on several
Comme
occasions.
indiqué dans ces
As
lettres, les
indicated in
enquêtes
these
sont en
letters,
cours en Allemagne.
investigations are underway in
Nous avons toute
Germany.
confiance
We
dans
have
ces
every
procédures et
trust
dans leur
in these
indépendance
procedures and in their
et nous attendons
independence,
leurs
and we are
conclusions.
awaiting their
Dans
conclusions.
l'intervalle,
In the
nous
meantime, we
continuons à
continue
estimer
to
que les
believe
résultats
that
ne
the
devraient pas être
findings should not be
indûment
unduly
influencés ou
influenced or
prédéterminés.
determined in
Je vous
advance.
remercie.
I thank you.
Je reprends mes fonctions de
I resume
présidente
my
du
function
Conseil.
as President of the Council.
Le représentant de la Fédération de
The
Russie a
representative of the
demandé
Russian
la parole
Federation
pour faire une autre déclaration.
Has asked for the floor to make
Je
a
lui
further
donne.
statement. You have the floor.
Госпожа председатель,
Madam
хотели
President,
бы задать
We would like
вопрос
to put a
нашему
question
французскому коллеге,
to our French colleague
обвиняющему нас
who
в
accused
том,
us
что мы настаиваем на термине теракт в отношении диверсии на северных потоках.
on the use of using the term terrorist act relating to what
Почему
happened
вы не
with the Nord
обвиняете
Stream
в том же
pipeline.
самом
Why are you not leveling similar accusations?
канцлера ФРГ Шольца,
The
который
Chancellor of the
14
Federal Republic of
сентября
Germany,
публично
Mr. Scholz,
признал
who on the 14th
произошедшее
of September
террористическим актом?
publicly called what happened a
Особенно
terrorist act.
учитывая,
especially
сколь рьяно вы
given the fact
защищаете
how doggedly you are
и
defending
беспристрастность
the
немецкого
effectiveness
расследования.
and the impartiality of the German investigation.
Попытка ряда выступавших сегодня
Attempts of
западных коллег
various
провести
Western
параллели
colleagues who
между
took the
подрывом
floor
северных
today to draw
потоков и
parallels
нашим
between the explosions of the
уничтожением
Nord Stream
инфраструктуры,
pipelines
связанной
and
с военным потенциалом
destruction
киевского
of
режима,
infrastructure linked to the military
свидетельствует либо
capacity of the Ukrainian
о
regime
стремлении
attests
сместить
either
акценты
to
с неудобного для них
our Western colleagues'
преступления,
desire to
либо о
shift the
полной
focus
безграмотности.
from these crimes, which they're uncomfortable with,
Если расследование
or perhaps
Германии
simply
опирается
because
на такую же
they're not sure what they're doing.
дилетантскую доказательную базу, то его исход абсолютно понятен.
And it's very clear what's going to happen if
Не может
these
быть
dilettante
никаких параллелей
approaches
между
continue.
украинским
There can be no
контекстом
parallels
и
between the
сознательным
Ukrainian context
уничтожением
and the
объектов
knowing destruction
международной
of
энергетической инфраструктуры.
international energy infrastructure. I thank you.
Je remercie le représentant
I
de la
thank the
Fédération de
representative of the
Russie
Russian
de sa
Federation
déclaration.
for their
Le
statement.
représentant de la France
The
a demandé la
representative
parole
of
pour
France
faire une autre déclaration.
asked the floor to make
Je la lui donne.
a further statement. You have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Je
Thank
voulais
you,
juste
Madam President.
répondre à
I
mon
just wanted
collègue
to
russe pour
respond
lui
to my
dire
Russian
que
colleague
probablement la
and tell
meilleure
him
façon de
that
procéder,
probably the
c'est
best
celle
way
que j'ai
to
décrite
proceed
dans mon
is
intervention,
what I
qui consiste
described
à
in my
attendre
statement, which is to
patiemment les
wait
conclusions
patiently for
de
the
l'enquête
conclusions
menée
of the
par la
investigation
justice
being
allemande,
carried
en
out
laquelle
by
la France a
the
toute
German
confiance,
judicial authorities,
et
and
que,
France has full
une fois ces
trust in that.
conclusions
And once
rendues,
those
ce Conseil
conclusions
puisse
have
à nouveau
been
se réunir
given, the
et
Council can
délibérer.
meet again
Merci.
and deliberate. Thank you.
Je remercie le
I
représentant de la
thank the
France de sa
representative
déclaration.
of France for their statement.
Il n'y a plus d'orateurs ou d'oratrices
There are
inscrits sur la
no more
liste.
names inscribed
La
on the list of
séance est
speakers.
levée.
The meeting is adjourned.
He won't allow me. All right, I came here to brief you on the discussion on the Nord Stream, which we just had in the Security Council. Perhaps you followed it. We heard the same narrative from our Western colleagues, that we should not prejudge the German investigation, that is effective, and they have no doubt in the effectiveness of investigation. That's why the Security Council should not engage in this matter before we know the results. But the problem is that we have no clue what the German investigation is about. From the Security Council in the form of the PRST, we worked on it in good faith. We made a lot of concessions. We tried to accommodate their concerns as much as we could, but to no avail, because they are to avoid naming, calling a spade, recognize that it was a deliberate act of terrorism in line with the relevant international convention of 1997, citing incompleteness of the investigation that would have proven it. So again, we heard nothing substantive from our Western colleagues, and we feel like they want to drag on this investigation by Germany indefinitely, so that they cannot say anything definitive when the facts are on the table. But we will not hesitate to continue putting that subject on the agenda. It is already on the agenda because it is obviously a threat to international peace and security. And of course we are conducting our own investigation and will be demanding from those parties involved, including Germany, to share with us the findings which they have not shared and we are not sure are going to share with us in any foreseeable time. So that's basically what I wanted to tell you about.
Mr. Ambassador, thank you for doing this. Can you tell us why Russia decided to press for a presidential statement before the German investigation is concluded? And have you gotten any indication of when the results of that investigation might be released?
We decided to push for it before the German investigation is completed, because the German investigation may last forever. And we may not live up to the time when it is completed. And that's a good excuse. That's a good excuse to sabotage this time any decision or any product of the Security Council, citing the incomplete state of the German investigation. But one of the things that our Western colleagues object to is to call it the act of terrorism, because the investigation has not established it, while the German Chancellor Scholz himself on 14th of September recognized it was an act of terrorism. But our colleagues, in particular France today, you heard it, you saw it in the Council, was defending the effectiveness of the German investigation and was advising not to prejudge it, and that is the reason why they refuse to call it an act of terrorism. For us, it's obvious it was an act of terrorism, not just sabotage. These pipelines did not blow up by themselves. Of course, they were perpetrators, and the way the investigation is being conducted clearly tells us that there is something to hide for them, and that's why they want to drag it on and on and on and on.
So we are talking about that we are waiting up for Germany investigation and trying to speed up. Have any Security Council member tried to invite Germany to the Security Council meeting to give at least a small brief?
We did. When once, I think initially, all three countries involved, Germany, Denmark, and Sweden, were in the council, made statements, basically about nothing, about the need to investigate and to find the truth. Then, when we called them later, they never came. Sending letters, basically empty letters, to the President of the Security Council on the continuation investigation. Now Sweden and Denmark are out of the game. We have only Germany left, but they choose not to appear, again, quoting their continuing investigation.
Just to follow, have you invited Germany to this particular meeting?
Did we? No, we didn't, because it's obviously useless.
Ambassador, I remember last time you said Russia probably will prepare a draft resolution concerning Nord Stream here in the Security Council. How's that going now? And do you really expect the Council would give any concrete reaction, let's say, on this issue?
We were discussing and negotiating a resolution once. It didn't fly because of the reasons that I tried to explain. We then lowered our ambitions to PRST, which didn't fly either. I wonder when finally, hopefully, eventually, the investigation is completed, what will they say then when we offer a product of the Security Council? What reasons they will find to sabotage the one that would not be excused by anything that is going on outside.
Thank you, Ambassador Grazia. Your French counterpart, in his response, said that the Russian Federation needs to, in his words, wait patiently for the German report. What is your response to that, number one? And number two, sir, you're still calling for an independent investigation as well. Is that correct? And where do you foresee that going in the future?
When my French colleague said it, he never gave us any timeline. And we don't know how long we should be patient about that. Is it months, days, months, years, decades? For some, preferably decades, but I think that that's a bit excessive. On the investigation, international investigation, I think besides us, we didn't refer to it today, but we did refer to it earlier. Today, I think it was Algeria that mentioned that subject, but it is going nowhere because in order for the international investigation to happen, there should be an agreement of the parties who are involved and who are requesting an investigation, and we offered it in the beginning in the Security Council, but and UN said as usual that they would be prepared if they have a mandate, but there is no mandate for it.
And the Germans aren't giving you any indication
No.
of how much longer this will go?
No. We do not receive any replies officially sent to them to keep us abreast and to give us information on the ongoing investigation. We have nothing. No, we send replies through the official channels, through our judiciary authorities, but replies never come back.
Do you think their investigation is credible?
that's a question which is difficult to answer. So far, we don't have any evidence whether it's credible or not. But we might speculate that it might not be credible.
If you don't mind, Ambassador, as you know, Israel bombed Beirut overnight in a residential area. They said they're targeting one person. The Russian Federation's response to this continued aggression on Lebanon?
Absolutely inadmissible. I mean, they're targeting one person, collaterally killing civilians. Then the count is already over 1,000. I will not be surprised if it'll be in thousands shortly. You know that we had a meeting on that issue the other day, and you heard everyone who spoke what. We said it clearly. We are, luckily I think, and this is not boasting, we are one country that can afford to call a spade a spade. And I think that many would like to say similar things, but they simply cannot afford it. But the rhetoric of our Western colleagues in the meeting called jointly strange alliance by Iran and Israel, each on its own matter, boiled down in their narrative to Iran being the culprit of all that is happening in the region, as if that happened in a vacuum, as if there is no Gaza, there is no Lebanon, there is no Yemen, there is no Syria, etc. So we said it clearly that it should be stopped immediately. That is fraught with the regional confrontation and conflagration is already there. How far it will expand, that's another question. You see these belligerent remarks both by Israel and Iran. We are sure, and we said it openly in the Council, that Israel dreams to involve US into the game. So what awaits us in the future is really worrisome. Thank you very much.
see if it were